Yes, people, wife boy, and one of the worst kept secrets in world football is who the next manager of Chelsea is going to be. Of course, they've had Frank Lampard taking over from Graham Potter until the end of the season, but he's been nothing short of terrible. And it seems Chelsea have found their new man to take the project forward. According to Fabrizio Romano, who has stated that Mauricio Pochettino has finally signed the contract as new Chelsea head coach after verbal agreement was reached 2 weeks ago. Official statement is ready. He's starting his new job as Chelsea manager as early as next week. Contract will be valid until June 2026. Here we go, confirmed. And this is big news for Chelsea fans because of course there's been a lot of turbulence around the football club. They had Graham Potter come in as the first manager to really take the project forward after Thomas Tuchel. Didn't end up working out that way. Frank Lampard's come in to kind of stable the ship. That hasn't worked out either. And now they've seemed to land on Mauricio Pochettino. I've given my thoughts throughout on my streams regarding Chelsea Football Club, who I believe the next manager was. I've come out and I've said that I believe they should have appointed Luis Enrique, in my opinion. I thought he would be the right manager to take that club forward, given that he's got the resume to deal with all the egos around Chelsea Football Club. He can walk through into the training ground and go, look, I've won Champions League, I've won La Liga, listen to me and I'll take you here. Whereas someone like Graham Potter, for example, walked in the door and his biggest achievement was taking Brighton to the top half of the table. It's a different kettle of fish. Now, Pochettino, I have no doubt about his man management ability. I'm going to come out and say that I think he's a brilliant man manager. He's proved it at Tottenham. He took them to a Champions League final. He challenged them for the title against Leicester in the 2016 season. He's a real good man manager. He makes players better. But is he a man that can deal with the egos? I'm not wrong in saying, in my opinion, he flopped at PSG when he had to deal with the Mbappes, the Neymars. He couldn't really contend with that sort of ego. He couldn't really contend with that sort of atmosphere, that sort of environment. I think he's a man that prefers to manage players coming from the academy or lower budget players. Do you get what I mean? Something like that. Players that are more likely to be receptive to his ideas. So it's going to be really interesting to see how he competes with this Chelsea project. I'm not wrong in saying this is one of the biggest projects in world football. This is a tough task. Genuinely, I don't envy anyone taking this job up. I'm not sure if Pochettino understands what bigger project this is. Chelsea is a massive football club. Like, I'm ready to buy stock in Chelsea right now in how I believe that they could end up in a few seasons' time. I've come and I said I think they're going to win the Premier League in the next 3 to 4 years because the money's available. Obviously, the fan base is there for Chelsea Football Club. The standards are still there to some extent. And they've still got some quality players in there. Players like Conte, Enzo Fernandez. I know some players are past it like Conte potentially, Azpilicueta, Aubameyang. But there's still the roots of a good football club there, man. Cobham's got some really good young graduates coming up. I'm a big fan of Lewis Hall, for example, the left wing back. I think he's a really good player. So it's a real good potential club to take over, but it could go horribly wrong. Mauricio Pochettino, he's coming in as early as next week. It's a good idea. Barely giving the team a rest after this season. I mean, many Chelsea fans will go, why they need a rest? They've been on the beach for 3 months anyway, to be completely honest. But I like it. I like appointing the manager early. I always believe that's the best thing. Give the man a lot of time on the training ground. And look, Chelsea finished 12th this season. I think even the most pessimistic of Chelsea fans at the start of the season will not envisioned or fathom the potential for that club to finish lower than even the Europa League spots, to be completely honest with you. But it's happened. They finished 12th. And in my opinion, I don't think that's a bad thing for Chelsea, to be completely honest. Now, the position obviously is horrible, but I mean in context of them finishing out of European places. Because they've not finished in Champions League, they're not finishing Europa League spots, they wouldn't want to finish in Conference League anyway. Give that man extra time on the training ground. I mean, when Arteta first came into Arsenal, right, he finished 8th. And that gave him a week long on the training ground to really implement his ideas. And lo and behold, this season, Arsenal turned into a completely different team. Gone up leaps and bounds from where they were the previous seasons. And I think Pochettino can do that. Look, Pochettino's proved over his time that he's a real good man manager. He can really get a good crop of players and get them pushing in the right direction. And I think that's what he needs to do, because number one thing is he's got to sort out this Chelsea team in this dressing room. There's a lot of players. There's a lot of deadwood. There's a lot of players that have outstayed their welcome at Chelsea. A lot of players have got good potential but hasn't quite materialised. The likes of Mudryk, for example, came in with a lot of expectations but has not really hit the ground running whatsoever. Hasn't scored a goal for Chelsea thus far in his 6 months here. So if you're Mauricio Pochettino, your rule number one, or your objective number one, is sort out the culture around the football club, man. Get everyone pushing in the right direction. Sort out who doesn't want to be there. Sort out who does want to be there. You got to ship out the deadwood, man. Also, it's got to bring in a striker and a goalkeeper for me, man. Those are two glaring positions that Chelsea are missing. They've spent 600 million, but the most criminal thing is they haven't brought in a competent striker, and they're still flip-flopping between Kepa and Mendy for who should be the number one spot. For me, neither of them should be. They're both number 2 goalkeepers, in my opinion. So if you're Pochettino, you got to be looking at a striker and goalkeeper. But in terms of signings, that's it for me. Of course, the guy from RB Leipzig, man, I've forgotten his name. Nkuku, that's the one. He's coming through the door from RB Leipzig. He's a good player, but it's another signing coming through. If you're Chelsea, you don't need to make so many signings. Just need to bring in the right personnel. For me, it's a striker and goalkeeper from Mauricio Pochettino. Look, I'm not too sure how this can go, to be completely honest with you guys. A lot of people are saying Pochettino's the right move for Chelsea. I would have gone for Luis Enrique, someone with a bit more of a reputation behind them, a bit more of a CV in terms of trophies on the door. But Pochettino, I have no doubt over his man management ability. If he can really get this team pushing in the right direction, it's going to be a brilliant appointment for Chelsea. I have no doubt about that whatsoever. But it's whether he can. That's the main thing, right? Because there's been so many managers that have come through the door for various clubs. You're talking about David Moyes to Manchester United, Unai Emery to Arsenal, for example, Brendan Rodgers to Liverpool. And these are real good managers in their own right, but they weren't quite the right fit for that football club. Is Pochettino the right fit for Chelsea? Only time will tell. I guess I'm going to talk about their objectives next season. Chelsea have to improve. I don't think they can get any worse, to be completely honest with you guys. But what is an improvement? I've heard Chelsea fans talking about they want Champions League. Michael Richards came out on Sky Sports the other day and said he believes Chelsea can potentially fight for the title next season. I think that's going too far in my opinion. For me, the number one thing for Chelsea is, right, you got to sort out, for if you're Mauricio Pochettino, a formation that works, tactics that works, and sort out personnel. Now, that might take a season. I know it shouldn't take a season, but it might, because Chelsea got so many players around. It's such a turbulent time for that football club, especially with the owner, Todd Bowley, as well, who decided to step away from football operations and just basically be the cash cow for them and provide the cash flow, whereas the actual is going to appoint management and football directors to the nitty-gritty football stuff, which I think is the right move, by the way. The man doesn't know enough about football to be so integrated in the decisions for the football club in a footballing basis. So I think that's the right move. But in terms of the amount of personnel around Chelsea, in terms of the amount of turbulence around there, in terms of all the deadwood players that should go, probably aren't going, players like Kai Havertz, for example, etc., there's a lot to sort out. So for me, Mauricio Pochettino, what I'd like to see him do is get the foundations right for Chelsea Football Club. And what I mean by the foundations is get a system that works. Start to coach some players. Find the starting 11 that you can rely on going forward. And if it means you have to pick and choose certain players to sign from the transfer windows, so be it. But only 2 or 3. You don't need to bring in a boatload of players, man. The main thing is get rid of all the deadwood and bring 1 or 2 players, sprinkle them in to fit your system. And for me, a good season for Chelsea, I'm not really worried about position, like league position for Chelsea. It's got to be getting a system that works. Look, time has proven over certain managers and certain time periods that the position in the table can lie sometimes. Man United finished second under Jose Mourinho. It was never a challenge in their lives. Arsenal finished 5th last season and have gone to challenge Man City until May to win the title. Didn't end up winning it, of course. It went to Manchester City, but they challenged. What does that show you? That the position can lie sometimes. Arsenal were 5th last season, but the progress they made to second is all because of the foundations laid by Arteta. He's got that team playing the right style of football. So if you're Chelsea Football Club, look, I don't think you can challenge for the title next season. Anything can happen, and they've got a dark horse of potentially doing so, but I personally don't think they're at that stage yet. So the main thing for Mauricio Pochettino is get a formation that works, get a system that works, man. There's some good quality footballers around Chelsea Football Club, some young footballers as well. Enzo Fernandez, Mudryk for example, like really good young footballers around that football club. Wesley Fofana, I'm a big fan of. I know he's made a couple mistakes recently, but I'm a big fan of him when he was coming from Leicester and of course Saint Etienne as well. So really good footballer there. So if you can lay the foundations, if you can find a system that works, a formation that works, a starting 11 that works, then you're going to start to see some consistency, right? Because consistency starts from the top. If there's a consistency in the management, then consistency in formation, consistency in tactics, consistency in team selection, then you'll start to get consistency in results. It's a step-by-step process. And if Pochettino can find that, that's the springboard to take Chelsea forward. Because right now, Chelsea are at ground zero, man. Arguably below ground zero. They need to get the foundation set in for that football club. And once that's done, they can kick on. So I'm not looking necessarily at Chelsea next season to really push on to get Champions League or fight for the title, anything of that metric. But I am looking for Pochettino to set the foundations and for Chelsea fans to see a football club and see a Mauricio Pochettino Chelsea that they can get behind. Because under Graham Potter, and especially under Frank Lampard, the identity of the club has been lost. The identity of the club under Abramovich is completely lost. It's like they've gone back to the old days under Chelsea where they were consistently finishing mid-table and there was no expectations around the football club. The standards were non-existent. Under Pochettino need to bring that back. Bring back a football club, bring back a team, bring back a style on the pitch Chelsea fans can resonate with, Chelsea fans can get behind. And then after that, the season after next season is when I can really expect Chelsea to make that big jump. Genuinely, I've seen it happen before in football clubs, man. Where you see them make a little jump, or a jump, not necessarily in league position, but a jump with your own 2 eyes that you can see the eye test qualitatively, where you see, hang on a minute, they've gotten better. And in the season after, they make the big jump in terms of league position. Because what people didn't realise is, getting better was a foundation, playing a better style of football. Yeah, there'll be some growing pains in that respect. There'll be a learning curve, but playing a better style of football and in the season after really having that springboard to go and fight for the title, etc. So I think Chelsea can win the title in the next 5 years. That's my opinion on it. So overall, the appointment for Mauricio Pochettino to Chelsea, I'm giving it a 7.5 out of 10. I would have preferred Luis Enrique personally, but it's one of those things for Chelsea Football Club. I appreciate everyone tuning into this video. If you made it all the way until the end, if you're new around here, make sure you subscribe and drop a like down below. Let me know in the comment section your thoughts on Mauricio Pochettino to Chelsea. Do you agree with it? Would you like to see someone else like Enrique, in my opinion? Or would you have gone for a younger and potentially more risky appointment for Chelsea Football Club? I'd love to hear it down below. And if you're new around here, make sure you check out other videos on the channel. I've been Wife, and I hope to see you all in my next one. Take care.